Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another webinar with myself, Lachlan Callaghan, Investment Manager from Fortem Wealth. This production is brought to you by Jackson Securities. Thank you very much for having us once again. I'm joined by Oleg, Vornick, CEO of DroneShield. Thank you, Vornick, Mr. Vornick, for joining us today. Very happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Aidan.
That's okay. That's okay. So I understand that you have a bit of presentation. Just for the viewers that may not know a bit about DroneShield, can you tell us a little bit about what the company does and how it's been operating over the past few years?
DroneShield is a 5-year-old business headquartered in Sydney with presence in about 100 countries around the world, focused on counter-drone solutions. So as consumer and commercial drones, much like what you can buy in JB Hi-Fi, have changed the face of a lot of industries, there have been nefarious applications associated with them. Whether it's terrorist organizations using drones to drop grenades in the Middle East and interfere with the military, or criminals using drones to spy on law enforcement or deliver contraband across borders, or infiltrating airports and stopping traffic. All of these negative applications is where we have a role to play. DroneShield makes sensors and effectors serving government customers that detect and safely defeat such drones used for nefarious applications.
Okay, yeah. And how have you seen the marketplace for that expand over the last few years?
When we first started 5 or 6 years ago, this was very much a nascent market. So the drones themselves were very basic technology and you couldn't really use them for much negative, even if you wanted to. But we had a vision back then that as the technology generally improves, the drone technology was also going to rapidly rise. So, improved flying times, payload capacities. You can do a lot more with the drone these days than you could do 5 or 6 years ago. So with it, there has been a drastic rise in use of drones by nefarious actors. So we have seen a very strong demand from our customers. So today, military and critical infrastructure, as well as law enforcement, are some of our some of our largest customers. So in Australia, it's the Australian military and the Australian Federal Police, for example. We supply customers in the US, UK, France, Southeast Asia, you name it. So it's quite a large market that's continuing to grow.
Yeah. Okay. And is that what makes you? What makes your unique positioning in the marketplace? What's your unique positioning in the increasing marketplace you have right there?
We're the pioneer in the counter-drone space. So when we first began, I think we're the very first ones to it. There might have been maybe one other or two other companies globally. Today, you have dozens of companies as this space is continuing to heat up. However, we have invested enormous amount of energy and effort into building our suite of technologies. So in a summary, I would say we have the best technology out there across a variety of applications. We detect further, more accurately, defeat better. It's smaller, tougher, safer products. And also we have quite a large scale of already deployed products, which is often differentiating factor between somebody buying us versus another product. As two most common questions people ask is the cost, and we're very price competitive and value for money. But of course, margins still reflecting the fact that it's a high R&D, high technology kind of product, and also who's currently buying it. So having deployed references is quite critical as far as differentiation goes.
Okay. And is DroneShield only about counter-drone technology, or is there other aspects to the business?
We traditionally evolved as a pure counter-drone business, which actually positioned us quite well, because a lot of other people in the space kind of treat it as a part-time problem, and their main business over the years might have been bird detection, airports, or perimeter security generally, or something else. So having the pure focus over the last several years really enabled us to become and continue to be best at what we do in the counter-drone space. However, what we're seeing over the last year or so is having conversations with our defense customers, a lot of the skill sets that we acquire, technologies that we built while trying to detect and defeat drones have also proved relevant in detecting and defeating other, let's say, targets of interest. So drones can be thought of as a emitter of energy as they connect with their controllers, but then there are lots of other things in the battlefield and also of interest to government agencies where similar technologies can be reused. So now we're working with a number of customers in Australia and elsewhere, effectively doing paid contract work in those spaces. So general electronic warfare, radio frequency sensing, and related technologies.
Yep. And we've just seen quality results being released, and we saw record high cash receipts coming through. If you want to go through your presentation, discuss a little bit more about that, I think the audience would really appreciate that. But from our standpoint, it was a lot higher than what we currently expected to see. Is that been the same for you?
Look, we are continuing to see record results, and as we mentioned in our last quarter that we released, we're expecting this current Q2, so we're running December year ends, we expect the current June quarterly to be a all-time record quarterly as well. We have collected the remaining cash receipt from the Middle Eastern customer, about $2.3 million, which in itself puts us into quite a unique bracket of defense and security businesses that have been successfully doing contracts in the Middle East. Middle East is a famous market for not necessarily getting paid, and we have been successful in that segment, but also our core markets, so Australia, US, UK, Europe, and elsewhere. So sure, let me turn to the presentation. I'm assuming people are able to see the screen, the one that's headline saying investor presentation. So what you see on the cover there is great. Is one of our products, Drone Sentry X, mounted on top of the Polaris M-Razor vehicle. So that is our latest on vehicle or on ship or on the go, shall I say, detect and defeat product, where it senses incoming threats. Those can be flying drones, that can be surface boats, for example, radio control surface boats in the context of a Navy ship, or even ground-based robots or other emitters. So detection and defeat completely autonomously or with man on the loop, that we have already been selling to various defense users around the world. In terms of our summary, turning to slide 2. So as I mentioned, we are the leader in the space, been around for about 5 or 6 years, right from the dawn of the industry, spent about $35 million over these years on the R&D product development. This is not really an industry where you can have 2 guys in the garage, or not anymore at least, build a product and kind of disrupt what we're doing. We were originally disruptors ourselves, but now it's becoming an industry where you need to have a little bit of a grunt and time in the market to build a market-leading product, which is what we've done, and we feel we're really well positioned with our trusted customer relationships and the product suite today. The counter-drone market itself is continuing to rapidly grow. So as the drones get better, their nefarious applications get wider. So talking about attacks with drone swarms, the state actors themselves are continuing to use drones more and more. So we're seeing the governments of Iran, China, Russia, and other places like Ukraine war, for example, using drones extensively on the battlefield. I'm talking about little drones, not just big drone size of airplanes. So this is all the space where we have a role to play. As we discussed, record performance, and we expect it to continue. Strong sales pipeline. So defense and government generally are well known to be long lead items compared to, say, consumer sales, where it might take anywhere between 3 and 12 or 18 months to gain a customer. But once you have them, you kind of have them for life. So that's the advantage where we feel we're in at the moment. We started doing repeat sales with the likes of various US government agencies, Australian government agencies, etc. And now that there's this trusted relationship, we expect that to continue. The next point is, so we're a defense company in addition to being counter-drone business. And we operate in an environment where, while COVID has certainly disrupted a lot of the industries in the defense and general government agency space, there has been an increase in funding, if nothing else. In part is because we're operating in a increasingly uncertain environment. So everybody would have seen the news around Taiwan and elsewhere. And so governments are ramping up their defense and security expenditure in response to that uncertain environment. And also, generally counter-drone, of course, itself being a big theme. So being an Australian business in the defense space, the macro positioning is very favorable right now. And then the last point, so unlike some other players in the space, we are vertically integrated in the sense that we have our own sales team as well as in-country sales partners. We have a large engineering team of approximately 30 software and hardware engineers. We run our own light manufacturing capability as well as outsource heavier manufacturing loads. And that gives us full control of the product and how we sell. So that translates into basically better offering for the customer.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. That is excellent. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm mindful of time.
No, sorry, continue.
I'm mindful of time, so I'll skip through the next couple of slides, but that just gives some examples of drones creating issues around the world. So what kind of issues they are? Broadly, it's a couple of different things. So drones can be thought of as a payload delivery vehicle. So they can be a grenade in a military context, or it can be smuggling cell phones, cigarettes, escape kits, weapons even into places like prisons, which are well built for stopping people getting in from the ground, but usually are completely unprotected from the air. The next bit is intelligence gathering, so drones flying and filming, or even potentially figuring out where things are on a battlefield and then sending a mortar in that direction, or even in a kind of a less military context, people filming games around stadiums, infringing on the broadcasters' rights. And then the last piece is around the airports and the like. So airplanes have been built to withstand bird strikes, but not drone strikes. As you think of a drone being a medium-sized metal plastic object with lithium-ion batteries in it. So today, when a drone is detected around an airport, which is hard to do on its own if you don't have drone sensors, then if all planes are down, because if a plane ingests a drone into its engine, that might cause a very real risk of a blowout to the engine, and then the aircraft might come down with casualties. So people probably seen the Gatwick incident a couple of years ago when all flights stopped around Christmas period. Talking about the various sectors, so the point of slide 6 is counter-drone is about military, yes, airports, yes, but then there are quite a lot of other segments, and I think those wide variety of customers are just going to continue to increase over time as drones. We're going to be having nefarious applications, whether it's protesters or terrorists, or even people, say children, flying drones around where drones shouldn't be, and that creates a real issue, even though there's no nefarious intention behind it. Who's DroneShield? So point of slide 7 is we have a wide variety of products. Not intending to go over them, but the idea is that it's an ideal, it's an optimal product for each mission, rather than just a single product that we try to force down in every situation, regardless of whether the person needs it or not. So detection, defeat, dismounted vehicle or ship mounted, and also fixed based solutions. And then we make hardware and software that sits within it as well. So our products do whole suite of from detection to analysis to monitoring, down to response and defeat, depending on the customer requirements. I think we talked briefly about why we are the market leader in the space. So slide 9 deals a little bit in that, effectively just being good at every bit of our function of the product. We broadly talked about the financial snapshot and our pipeline and the customer cash receipts this gone quarter and the current quarter, we have pretty clean balance sheet, no debt, no converts, pretty straightforward, and we expect to see recurring revenues to become a bigger part of what we do. So when we make any detection product sale, about 10% of the upfront purchase price is the recurring subscriptions. So as we do more sales, we expect those recurring subscriptions. So as new drones come out, basically we need to update software, much like antivirus, to deal with it. So we expect that to be bigger and bigger part of what we are. Slide 11 deals with some of our news flow. So you can see we're continuing. This is all just last 12 months. So we're continuing to more and more orders of, and not orders are the same. So an order from a high profile customer, say in Australia or the US, is more important than say an order from Southeast Asia customer. So these are high quality, not just a meaningful dollar number sales. Slide 12 deals with our revenues. So we've been posting record revenues each year and also expecting this year to be materially higher. So in fact, I think we're probably already sitting on par with the entire FY20 results as we stand. But it's also, like I said, not just the dollars, but also who those dollars are coming from. So some of our 5i customers, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Point of slide 13, cash receipts, is in defense business. Some people in our industry or in defense industry struggle with timely conversion of cash receipts, which we haven't had. So as you can see, we're seeing rapidly increasing cash receipts in tandem with the increase in revenues. We're talking about the pipeline. So pipeline is fairly diversified. It is somewhat heavy towards the Middle East, where we just finished and got paid fully on a smaller contract with the military there. So it's a 2.3 million that we just received, but there's a much larger contract that we're currently in the process of finalizing. But also we're seeing quite a lot of upcoming work through US, UK, Europe, and Australia. So in US, UK, and Australia, we operate our own sales teams in addition to in-country distributors, and everywhere else we work with in-country partners. So the point here is we went from about 3 million revenue 2019, 5 million revenue 2020, to now standing in front of a $200 million opportunity as measured as cash receipts to December next year. So even though this is not risk weighted, even if we convert a fraction of that, and we hope to convert more than that, that is still a very material rise over what we've been seeing historically. So directors and the leadership team, so about 50 people in the business altogether today, about 40 odd in Sydney and the rest in the US and UK. We're quite an experienced team. The senior team has been around together for a while, and we look forward to continuing to work together. And I think that's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, of course. Beautiful. Well, we do have a few questions at the moment. I have a question from actually one of my clients, Andrew. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. Andrew's just asked, is all the research and development and manufacturing done in Australia?
Most of it is. So Australia has current regulation around manufacturing of jammers, where we can make jammers if we'll be solely supplying Australian defence. But for other customers, current Australian law prohibits us from doing so. So we do it offshore in a Western-friendly country to our R&D and specifications. But for everything else, it's here in Australia. And when the law changes, which we hope to do, which we hope will happen in the next year or so, we intend to have everything here in Australia.
Okay. I also have another question here from Shelley. Shelley's just asked, what is the current contract that you have and how large is it at the moment?
Current contracts that we have? We have a number of existing contracts. So the contracts tend to range anything from 50 grand, 100 grand, up to several million bucks. So the existing order book of contracts, purchase orders that we received is somewhere around $7 million. Much of that cash we expect to convert this quarter, and then the remainder hopefully the following quarter, and we continue to receive contracts. So up to now, most of the contracts we've been receiving have been fairly short term, meaning you get a contract for X things, you fully fulfill it within 3 to 6 months, and then you, in the process, you get more contracts, and you have half a dozen of them kind of going at any point in time. But then we expect to start receiving larger contracts from defense, which will kind of smooth out our revenues as well, multi-year contracts. So we expect for that to start from this year.
Okay, beautiful. We also have one final question. It's directed to you, Oleg, of course. It's asking from Joseph, where do you value the business at this current time, and how do you think the share price should go?
I have a natural view, of course, that the price doesn't reflect the value of the business at the moment. So if you look at the price, it's roughly the same as where it was in the last 2 years or so. I think we've gone through a significant re-rate of the business as we are, be it in terms of the technology, in terms of sales, in terms of the pipeline. So look, valuation is a bit of a, I suppose, subjective thing, and everybody looks at it in their own ways. In terms of the revenue, so as we talked about revenue and the pipeline, we expect the revenue for this year. We don't publish formal forecasts, but I would expect the revenue to be multiple of what it was last year, and by the end of the year, get to the point where the business runs in a profitable manner. So I would expect that to lead to an improvement in the share price. I think in a way we have been impacted due to the fact that we are a micro cap, about 70 million, and we are under the radar of a lot of institutions. And I hope that as we reach that $100 million market cap point and become more on the radar of institutions, and our register becomes a bit less retail and more of a balanced institutional retail register, that will also underpin a rise in the share price.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I do have one other question coming through from Jacob. It's a little bit of an interesting one. He wants a demonstration of one of the guns, but I'm not too sure if we'll be able to do that one for you, Jacob. I'm sorry about that. We might just wrap it up there. Once again, thank you very much, Oleg, for joining us today. For the viewers watching the recorded version or the live version today, I'll link down my email, so you can send me an email, or my number as well, so you can give me a call if you have any questions. I'll pass them on to Oleg as well. Apart from that, thank you very much, Oleg, for coming on.
Great. Thank you, everybody who was listening.
Thank you very much. And we'll tune in next week. Thank you very much. Catch you later.